morning, everybody. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. I hope you guys are having a good day. But honey, Terrence Howard is once again on his tell-all tour. And in case y'all missed it a couple months ago, on his first tour, he dropped some serious tea about Diddy. Now, he said Diddy invited him over for cocktails and to serve as his quote-unquote acting coach, only to realize that the real cock and tail Diddy had on his mind was him.
Yeah, I mean, no. Puffy invited me for weeks, asking me to come and teach him how to, wanted me to be his acting coach for a while. Go there and he's sitting around just looking. I'm like, okay, what's the material you want to work on? He's just looking at me. Then next thing you know, okay, hey, will you help me? I want to hear your music. So I come over there and I play the music. And he's sitting there just looking at me, like waiting. Okay. So then my assistant was like, he wants to hang out with you next week. And I was like, for what? He's like, I think he's trying to fuck you.
So, honey, if you thought that was wild, wait till you hear why Terrence Howard said he turned down playing Marvin Gaye in a biopic. Now, some of y'all might be surprised. I know I was. Now, some of y'all might not be surprised, but I know I was. I was a toddler when Marvin Gaye passed. But I do remember my parents blasting his music on Saturday mornings while my siblings cleaned the house. And his voice was legendary. So boom, Terrence Howard recently sat down with Bill Maher on Club Random Podcast. And honey, he has something to say that blew my mind. But Bill Maher told Terrence Howard that he would have been perfect to play Marvin Gaye, which I disagree with. And that Marvin's story deserved to be told, which I agree with. And that's when Terrence dropped the bomb. So he said he was already in conversations with Lee Daniels about playing Marvin Gaye. But he mentioned that when he was hearing rumors about Marvin Gaye's sensuality. And Quincy Jones later confirmed it that Marvin Gaye was gay. So that's when Terrence said he wasn't comfortable moving forward because some of the scenes that they would have had to film, he wasn't comfortable with. And he literally said, and I quote, "I would cut my lips off before I kissed a man on camera."
You would have been perfect as Marvin Gaye. And that is a story that needs to be told.
Let you know what happened with that. I was over at Quincy Jones' house. I'm not dropping names. I'm just giving credibility to what I'm about what I'm
never
saying.
drop names. De Niro told me that.
Yeah. So, but I'm asking Quincy. I'm hearing rumors that Marvin was gay. And I'm like, was he gay? And Quincy's like, yes.
Oh.
He went around it with everything, and I was like, no. And I'm like, I could not.
I just feel like there's gay for real, and then there's a point where guys get so much, they're just like, oh, it.
Yeah, well, it would have been that, but they would have wanted to do that, and I wouldn't have been able to do that.
Well, you mean you couldn't kiss a guy on screen?
No.
Now look, I'm not here to tell Terrence what role he should take or shouldn't take. But I hate when people come out with stories and the people mentioned are deceased. The people involved are not around to back this up. Now, Marvin Gaye is gone. Quincy Jones is gone. However, Quincy Jones, in an interview years back with Vulture, he did mention that Richard Pryor and Marvin Gaye were both intimate with Marlon Brando. Now, again, neither of them can confirm or deny any of this. So it leaves us with a whole lot of, he said, she said to deal with. And what gives folks the right to out anyone when they're deceased? If Marvin Gaye wanted the world to know that he was gay, it would have came out of his own mouth. But here's the thing. When you really look at Marvin Gaye's life, the music, the trauma, the complicated relationship he had with his jealous snake of a father, it actually make you pause for a second. Now listen, his father, Marvin Gaye Sr., he was a Pentecostal preacher. He was also an alcoholic. And on top of that, he had a habit of wearing his wife's clothes. Her blouse, her skirt. I'm talking her panties, her heels, even her wigs. Now, y'all, Marvin grew up in that kind of house. Strict as hell, religious as hell, but full of secrets behind closed doors. Daddy was in the pulpit on Sunday, but in mama's panties and heels by Monday. So let's be real. It wouldn't be far-fetched to believe that maybe Marvin Gaye did battle with his sexuality, especially coming from a household like that.
No.
Not even, yeah.
No, because I don't fake it. I
Right.
literally, it has to.
I couldn't kiss a man either. That's true. And that does
that
not,
would f me.
does not
I
make
would
me,
cut my lips off.
yeah, no. Well,
I would.
okay,
If I kiss some man, I would cut my lips off.
well, I would not do that. But it does not make me homophobic to not want to kiss a man. Just like lots of gay men are like, yuck. You know, I mean, that's okay. We all have our own, no one wants to tell you
do
how
what
to.
you love to do, but don't do it at me. Don't aim it at me. And I can't play that character.
Right.
100%. I can't.
Right.
I can't surrender myself to a place that I don't understand.
Yeah.
And so that's the end part of that story of what I had to let go.
Well, I can understand.
Now listen, I get it. Terrence, he wants to defend his manhood. Understandable. And I can respect a man saying, I'm not selling my soul for a role or a check. But that doesn't give you the right to out the deceased. We don't know if Marvin Gaye ever had the space or the safety to even tell his truth, if that was his truth, when he was alive. And now that he's gone, it damn sure ain't your place to do it for him, Terrence. So, folks are online saying that Terrence might be projecting. Terrence, let's not act like this isn't the second podcast you've hopped on where the topic somehow turns into another man being gay. And then you going above and beyond to convince us you're not. Like, sir, who are you trying to prove it to, us or yourself? Now, you could have simply said, I turned down the role. You didn't need that explanation. You outed this man, and I don't think it's right. Because he didn't reveal this in his life. Why do it in his death? And people say when you try so hard to distance yourself from something, it starts to look like you running from it, Terrence. So Marvin, he never came out as gay. However, early in his career, according to Essence, and I quote, Gaye altered his stage name, adding an E to gay, G-A-Y, explicitly to quell rumors about his sexual orientation. As Essence magazine notes, he did this to dispel rumors of his homosexuality and to distinguish himself from his father. Gaye himself later told biographer David Ritz that my father isn't gay, but that his dad, had a feminine sensibility and sometimes liked wearing women's clothing. In a 1982 interview, his dad said, sexually, men don't interest me, making clear that his interest in cross-dressing had nothing to do with any attraction for men. In other words, he identified as straight even while privately exploring gender expression. First of all, I can't see Terrence Howard playing Marvin Gaye. Maybe Usher, because he does have the voice. Terrence Howard? No. And this whole situation, Terrence, it distasteful. I can't make it any clearer. Very distasteful. How did we get here? Okay, what started off as I don't want to do a role turned into let me change this deceased man's legacy. Let me expose a deceased man's sexuality. How dare you? That is the end of this video. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Give the video a thumbs up. Talk to you later. Bye.